Hey everyone, my name is Alan Best. I'm a product manager on the Oracle Backup and Recovery team. And today we're going to talk about the modern recent trends that we're seeing in the database backup and recovery space, specifically for 2025. We're going to talk not only about what we're seeing, but we're also going to talk about what we actually have as solutions with the Zero Data Loss Recovery Appliance, as well as the Zero Data Loss Autonomous Recovery Service.
All right. So the importance of backups. In today's day and age, data isn't just important, it's the absolute bloodline of the business. Every transaction, every customer interaction, and every strategic decision hinges on it. Yet some organizations are still treating their backup and recovery strategies as an afterthought. This approach is pretty much a ticking time bomb. It leads to crippling inefficiencies, sky high risk, and the terrifying potential for catastrophic data loss that could literally sink their business. A modern intelligent backup and recovery strategy isn't just about having some form of general purpose storage. It's about protecting your operational continuity, preserving your hard earned customer trust, and maintaining your competitive edge. It's time to think of your backup recovery solution not just as an IT task, but start recognizing it for what it truly is, which is a core business imperative. So, as you can see here on the slide, the shift is already happening. By 2028, 75% of enterprises will prioritize backup of SaaS applications as a critical requirement. And this is up from 15% in 2024. And this is actually from Gartner itself. So enterprises are starting to realize just how important it is to have a backup in place and having that requirement enterprise wide pretty much. This leads to the rise of cyber resilience. In the past, backups were treated as a passive safeguard, pretty much a safety net that you hoped you never really needed. But now that mindset does not hold up anymore, especially as cyber threats are consistently evolving. Today, cyber threats aren't just technical nuances, they're business disruptors. Ransomware doesn't just hit your production environment, they're now targeting your backups. Insider threats can quietly erase or corrupt critical data. And this is what we've seen a shift in thinking that the backup is no longer just the last line of defense. It's now pretty much your first responder. In one of the actual studies done, they found that 94% of ransomware victims have had their backups targeted by attackers, and that was according to the SOFO study. So that pretty much leads to cyber resilience. Cyber resilience is about being proactive. It means your database being secure, isolated, and recoverable. It means incorporating immutable storage, recovery validation, and anomaly detection into your backup workflows. And it means building backup into the heart of your security architecture, not just it being the last line of defense and hoping that nothing ever happens. So as we move forward, this resilient approach isn't just a luxury, it's becoming a business requirement and a necessity. To touch a little bit upon today's data protecting challenges, let's zoom in on what the reality many teams are facing right now. The first is the threat of data loss, which is ever present. Well, whether it's accidental deletion, corruption, or human error, and with medical and mission critical data often sitting in production databases, one misstep can ripple across the entire business. Also, we're seeing an alarming rise in ransomware attacks, as we've been seeing for the past couple of years, and that directly targets databases and their backups. And once an attacker gets in, they're trying to encrypt or delete backup copies to prevent the actual recovery of that database, and essentially holding your data hostage. The third is as companies are growing and digital systems are expanding, they're facing massive data growth. So for traditional backup solutions, these backups are ballooning in size and causing longer backup windows and skyrocketing storage costs. And finally, is fragmented backups. Many teams are still dealing with fragmented backup environments, which is a patchwork of tools for different systems, siloed teams, and no centralized visibility. And this fragmentation leads to delays, gaps in protection, and inconsistent recovery times. Uh, Pretty much all these that you're seeing here are just a perfect storm, and it's it's solving it requires this new approach to a backup solution that is not only centralized but intelligent and built for resilience. But first, let me go a little bit into detail into each one of these problems and how it's really affecting organizations. First is the cost of data. So to talk numbers, because the financial impact of data loss is often underestimated. Every minute your database is down, your business is pretty much bleeding money, and it's also losing trust as well. According to Oxford Economics, downtime costs can average just about $9,000 per minute. And that's not just the loss of productivity, it's lost revenue. It's failed compliance audits and it's long term damage to your customer trust. And if you're thinking, well, we have backups so we're safe, you have to really think about it because many organizations that have backups are not only unverified, they're outdated, and they're stored in itself in vulnerable locations. And worse, in ransomware attacks, companies are improperly protected by backups, which they still end up paying, or they're either due to corrupted files or the sheer time it takes to restore. One study saw that the global 2,000 companies lose nearly 400 billion annually due to unplanned downtime. So there's just a major opportunity cost in every minute, let alone second, that you're losing in data. So the takeaway here is that data loss isn't just a technical issue; it's a financial and reputational crisis, basically waiting to happen. And the faster, more reliable your recovery strategy is, the lower the cost of an incident. Speaking of incidents, the growing ransomware crisis. If you've come to our previous XCOM sessions, you know that ransomware is a large topic, and these are actually updated numbers. One being that $125 billion yearly in ransomware damage by 2028. That's by the cybersecurity Ventures. 59% of organizations experienced ransomware attacks in 2024. That's according to Sophos. And 149% more attacks in the US happened just in the first weeks of 2025. So it's obviously just a consistently growing problem. 4.9 million average cost per attack, which is much higher in the finance and healthcare industries. That study was done by IBM. And lastly, 51% of companies paid ransom, but only 13% of their data got 13% of the companies got their data back. So it perpetuates the story that we keep saying, which is even if you do pay the ransom, that doesn't necessarily solve the problem of getting your data back and getting your business back up and running. And within all of this, databases are a prime target due to the high volume of business critical data. Most of the data that businesses store happens in your database, which is if you put your lens in the eyes of an attacker, that's exactly what they're looking to get. Going into the next one, business growth should never be limited by capacity. So as your business, your data footprint naturally just expands. Um, but too often, backup infrastructure doesn't really scale as easily. Legacy systems weren't really designed for this type of growth, which means expansion triggers manual configuration, new hardware purchases, or delays in protecting new systems. And this slows down digital transformation, which puts new systems at risk and adds unnecessary work for already stretched IT teams. In fact, according to the Hacker News, IT teams now spend just about 10 plus hours per week just managing the backup complexity. And that's time that could be spent on innovation or optimization in general. And what companies really need is a scalable backup solution, one that grows as your infrastructure evolves. Whether you're expanding to the cloud or just onboarding new database environments, your backup systems should be able to adapt without additional roadblocks, re-architecture, or downtime. Because at the end of the day, your backup solution shouldn't really be a bottleneck. It should add value to your business. And this leads us to fragmented backup infrastructure, which not only impacts reliability, but impacts recoverability. And when talking about general purpose backup solutions, we typically see this type of fragmented backup infrastructure. And this is where environments, where different teams, departments, or systems use different tools, processes, and platforms to protect their data. On the surface, this might seem manageable, but in practice, it creates a number of serious challenges. First, it reduces visibility. With multiple backup tools in place, it becomes extremely difficult to get a unified view of what data is protected, where it lives, and where it's recoverable. This typically leads to blind spots because the data is not being backed up properly or not being backed up at all. The second, the fragmentation introduces complexity and inefficiency. Every platform may have its own policies, schedules, and support needs, and this increases the operational overhead and often requires specialized skill sets just to keep everything running. The third is that recovery becomes inconsistent. During an outage or cyber attack, having to coordinate between multiple tools or teams typically slows everything down because you're not just trying to recover data, you're trying to figure out where that data is and how to recover it. And this obviously wastes a lot of precious time. And then finally, there is the security angle. Fragmented backups and systems are just harder to secure in general. And if you're not applying consistent controls and monitoring across your entire backup infrastructure, attackers can pretty much exploit the weakest link because it's hard to necessarily manage everything all and see everything all at once. And this is why organizations are now moving towards this more unified data protection platform, which is something that can scale across workloads and environments. So whether you're on premises or in the cloud, and doing that with consistent controls, reporting, and recovery workflows. And that pretty much leads us to where we stand today, which is our zero data loss recovery appliance, our unique intelligent data protection for Oracle databases, and what we consider to be the best equipped Oracle database solution for all data protection needs. Um, the key pillars we would consider to be our zero data loss protection, database aware ransomware resiliency, and fast minimal impact backup and recovery. We're going to go a little bit into some of the key features that we use today, especially how they solve a lot of those modern problems. Um, but some of the ones we're not really going to talk too much about are the ones in black. Stuff like continuous data anomaly, which validates the backups at each stage of the lifecycle from the time that the databases are backed up, so that if there's any sort of compromise or attack on the database files, it will be deleted. Immutable backups, which are basically backups that cannot be deleted or modified. End-to-end encryption, which prevents the data from being used for extortion or other purposes, unless the keys are also compromised. The separation of duties slash granular access control, that pretty much allows each user role, an example, administrator roles, which is completely separate from one another, and they're defined with their own privileges. And lastly, the one-step recovery without incremental reply, and that is basically restores from what we call virtual fulls in a way that the changes are in a recovery are placed in any point in time, eliminating the overhead to traditional recovery. So we're going to go more into detail on the stuff in black. I have slides on all of them, I promise. But before we get into that, I just want to go over the high level architecture for those that haven't seen that fully blown out. So it starts with our appliance, which again is our next gen intelligent database protection, which covers enterprise wide database coverage. So your database, your on premise database, pretty much any version, anywhere, um, are all protected by a centralized appliance, which is designed for that enterprise wide backup and recovery need. Um, each database then sends two pieces of data, which is one is your redo stream, which provides that real time data protection, and the other is the encrypted incremental forever. And this allows the recovery plans to generate those virtual full backups that I was talking about, which are available whenever needed for restore purposes. Um, Once those backups then end up on an appliance, you have that immutable virtual full backup, and you're able to provide fast zero-day loss recovery. You have the option to have a cyber vault. If you choose, uh, you can have the real-time replication uh, back up to that cyber vault within a air gap network, which is basically just a network that can uh, be scheduled so that it's periodically open via a firewall or switch to where that it is protected on a private network comparative to it being public, as well as the backups would then be synchronized so that once the network is closed, the replication tasks are queued into the next window. You can also choose to archive to the Oracle Cloud, so in OCI object storage, which is a good choice if you want a offsite encrypted backup, especially for those long-term retention needs. And these cloud backups can be restored to any cloud database or any on-premise database. And these backups are also made immutable on cloud storage. And lastly, you can also archive to ZFS. And throughout all of this, you have that continuous Oracle data validation as well as TDE encryption, which prevents the data from being used for extortion or other purposes. So, getting back into our solution and what exactly we do to provide for those modern day solutions, or I guess modern day problems. We have three core benefits every organization should be striving for, which is zero data loss recovery, ransomware resilience, and fast, low impact operations. The first is zero data loss recovery. And this basically means being able to recover critical workloads and databases without losing a second of transactional data. And this is crucial for industries like finance, healthcare, or e-commerce, where data loss, where even a few minutes can lead to compliance violations, lost revenue, or even reputational damage. And modern solutions are leveraging continuous data protection, real-time replication, and basically real-time redos to help provide that zero data loss. And this is really something that only we have seen that we can do the best. Most other competitors are maybe doing up to the hour or minute, but the zero data loss is something that we really pride ourselves in being able to provide. The second is ransomware resiliency and protection. Uh, this is actually no longer optional. If you've seen the news, ransomware is going rapid, and modern data protection platforms must assume that ransomware will hit and be prepared to recover from it quickly and confidently. And that means immutable backups, having a potential air gap solution with the cyber vault, and then having continuous recovery validation to prevent compromise and ensure clean, restorable copies of data. And just as important, having the orchestration in place to recover at scale. Lastly, is the fast, low impact backup and recovery. Traditional backup jobs can slow down production environments and take hours to complete. With today's data volumes and tight recovery objectives, that just isn't acceptable. We really need a solution that can provide incremental uh, uh, block changing technology, which is something that pretty much we are only the ones that can do at the scale that we do it. And all that happens to be something that lowers the load on production systems and doesn't disrupt users in the process. And ultimately, these help reduce risk, improve business continuity, and ensure that when we something goes wrong, we are able to bounce back with confidence. So to talk about our zero day loss recovery, businesses demand transaction level protection. When it comes to databases, data integrity and availability is pretty much everything. A few seconds of lost data can mean thousands of dollars in each transaction or missed order. And traditional backups, whether they're taking hourly or daily, can still leave some gaps. If a failure happens between the snapshots, all the changes in that window is lost. And that's why real-time transaction protection is such a game changer, because instead of waiting for scheduled jobs, we can capture each individual database transaction as it occurs, making sure that no change is missed. And in the event of any sort of system failure or human error, you're able to restore your environment to the moment before the incident. And this level of granular access is what is critical for a business to operate at such a high transaction environment, especially when we're talking about industries such as finance, e-commerce, logistics, etc. Uh, in in most of those industries, especially, every second counts and every transaction matters. So to go a little bit into our I guess behind the scenes of how the real-time transaction protection works. With the recovery appliance, you're able to capture uh, a validated redo, which provides that real-time transaction protection. So we're taking in what we call a redo transport, where all transactional changes in real time from database memory buffers directly to the recovery plines for immediate transaction protection. And this provides also minimal overhead on the database for this protection as it's directly streamed in memory from the database side. Uh, and like I said, this capability is very important for keeping your data consistency with other database and applications, uh, which can make it a very crucial design requirement. Um, Recovering to the last committed transaction, which provides consistency and zero day loss in the case of ransomware attacks, especially where production systems may need to be taken offline. Um, you can have the ability to actually have that last transaction to restore to a new clean environment, which I'll talk a little bit about later. Um, And that brings us to our talk about ransomware, actually. So, how customers protect from ransomware is being ready before it strikes. A lot of key things that customers are looking for is database aware user roles, preventing unauthorized access or actions with the least privileged access, the granular access controls, making sure that only the right users are able to access only the right data sources, immutable backups, which locks data from modification or deletion. Health monitoring, you need to be able to have some visibility into your data protection environment. And lastly, having something similar to a cyber vault, which is a separate physical and isolated environment, which has an additional sense of security. So first, talk about the local database recovery. Like we said, you can have any sort of database in your production environment. I would say, where if ransomware attacks, um, they're typically going towards your production environment. So we are actually known for being able to provide rapid recovery to a known good pre-attacked state and a new clean environment, where, like we said before, you have that real-time data protection as well as the uh, encrypted incremental forever going to your recovery appliance, where we can precisely recover your database to that clean environment using the one-step recovery process into a new clean environment. And this pretty much minimizes downtime, letting businesses operate at near basically real time, and provide zero day loss at the point of compromise. And that's basically the result in the possibility that something does happen, especially if you already have a clean environment already ready to go. You're also able to restore to your production environment, um, let's say after attack. So you do have those two options presented to you. And then that also brings up the opportunity for a cyber vault and a separate clean room deployment. So to take ransomware recovery a step further, it's not just about restoring quickly, but ensuring your backups can't be tampered with in the first place. With our architecture, your on-premise backups can go from the production to the Zeta array, and then also uh, be replicated to a separate ZDL array in a cyber vault in a separate location. This vault is connected via a secure firewall network to enforce a air-gapped architecture, and that replication, like I said, is on a private network, and that is what would then go to your cyber vault in a new physical location, and that network would only open at random intervals, initiated from the vault itself, not from the appliance. And that would then pull the latest backups and stay closely aligned with production. And lastly, we talked about speed within your backup and recovery. So slow backups can cause big problems because missed backup windows on large databases obviously are very imperative. High resource usage during peak hours can cause massive amounts of data going to your backups, and if your backup solution isn't able to actually handle that, that can cause a lot of issues. And then having no clear visibility into the backup status or success, visibility is very important, which is why we have our monitoring as well within Enterprise Manager for our appliance, and then OCI, we have our separate monitoring as well. Um, and it basically comes down to three different features, which I put down into incremental forever, space efficiency, and point in time restore. Uh, each of these provide unique benefits, whether it's incremental forever, where traditional full backups are, or I would say, time consuming. You're able to actually capture all the changes that's going to your backups, or space efficiency, where as your database grow, your storage bill might also grow. So being able to keep the cost low and still capture all your changes, or even point in time restore, which is being able to restore to the moment before a corruption or breach possibly occurs. All these features together build your backup strategy, making it built for speed, efficiency, and trustworthy recovery, which is exactly what's needed for a modern database environment. And that brings us first to space efficient encrypted backups. So this is a feature where uh, it's able to provide fast, low impact backup and recovery, which we talked a little bit about before. And what this does is it basically compresses incremental forever backup blocks, which comes with the appliance, allowing for storing day-to-day change data file blocks in order to save storage on the appliance. This feature still keeps that end-to-end encryption. We talked a little about TDE before, so the data is never encrypted throughout the backup lifecycle. It saves costs with 3 times storage savings in comparison to general purpose storage, and allows for faster backups, being that the data is compressed before being sent over the network. And then also we have our restore at any point in time, which, as well as being able to create virtual fulls by doing the incremental forever backups, we are able to restore virtual fulls, which is done by RMN. And once you have your virtual full backup, you're able to have a new physical backup when you're ready to restore, and you would then restore back to the day end changes whenever they happened. And in doing so, the backup and recovery operations would then have the ability to have all the blocks referenced from your virtual full and your physical full. And this eliminates that production server overhead in the process. Um, Most of what we talked about has been on the recovery appliance, but our recovery service, our zero-day loss autonomous recovery service, it inherits everything that our recovery appliance has, and all the benefits, plus all the benefits that we have in the cloud as well. It is available for Oracle databases in OCI and multi-cloud. Some additional benefits include being in a separate Oracle managed tenancy rather than the customer tenancy, uh, cloud automation, which promotes the ease of use, some cross domain and cross region cleanroom support, which contains the database services that are restore destinations, and integration with cloud observability, monitoring, and reporting. And just a snapshot of what that actually looks like in the cloud for those that may have not seen it yet. It is the recommended slash default cloud backup destination. It's available in all OCI and multi-cloud regions. It protects thousands of databases today, storing petabytes of data in backups. So, with that said, uh, the zero-day loss recovery plans and zero-day loss autonomous recovery service is, again, what we consider to be our next-gen intelligent database protection, providing zero data loss, database-aware ransomware resiliency, and fast, low-impact backup and recovery. It provides all the stuff you see there. We talked a lot about real-time transaction protection, being able to back up each and every transaction that happens on your database. We didn't get to talk too much about it, but we have that continuous recovery validation, detecting anomalies that can potentially happen throughout your database lifecycle. Um, Immutable backups with retention lock. Um, that's the retention lock is more cloud, but immutable backups make sure that your data cannot be changed or modified. End-to-end encryption, making sure that it is encrypted throughout the entire life cycle, separation of duties and granular access control, air-gapped backup in your cyber vault, which is in a separate physical location, fast recovery to a clean room, space efficient encrypted forever, which is really optimizing the production resources that you have, and the one-step recovery without incremental reply, which is making sure you're able to recover to the latest point as quickly as possible.
And that's all. Thank you for everyone that listened. And you can always reach out to the product team if you have any additional questions. Thanks, everyone.